Does your business look like this? This is what I call the hub and spoke model of misery. You in the middle, and every single person in your company, every problem, every question, every decision travels through you to get resolved. If you are sick of being the bottleneck of your own company, you don't need to work harder. You need architecture. You cannot scale chaos. Today, we are moving from the I do everything model to a structured organizational chart. Not because it's corporate and boring, because it doesn't have to be, but it is the only way to see exactly what you need to take off your plate and put onto someone else's. Because the problem is without structure, you are the unofficial project manager for everyone. Oh, that feels so like so heavy. If I step away from the week, so if you have this mantra, if I step away from a week, revenue stops or everything's going to go crazy or who are the customers are going to talk to? That is not a business. That is a stressful job. And you became a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a leader so that you could make a difference in the world and you do not have to carry it all alone. But an organizational chart is not just for Fortune 500s. And I don't believe a top down method is the best either. It is for anyone who wants to take their weekends back. So, 3 simple steps are going to get you there. Number 1, audit the roles and not the people. This is, if you hear nothing else in this video, you have to listen to this. When you sit down with a piece of white paper, all right, and you start writing out all the roles that need to be done in your company. So it could be social media manager, HR, payroll. It could be like the person that oversees enrollments or bookings, right? It could be billing. It could be whatever the roles are in your company. It could be ordering. It could be managing vendors. Whatever those roles are, you're going to write them down, right? And you are not going to think about anyone who works in your current company, not even you. You are not going to even think about you. And you are going to figure out what roles are needed to run your company on a day-to-day basis. And once you do that, you may automatically already see that you have roles that are not needed. I've been there. I've done it myself, but the business needs this first. So once you create those roles and those buckets, basically like the operations bucket, the marketing bucket, then you are looking just at functions. And then that takes us to step number 2, which is the hat reality check. So if you're a solopreneur, you're currently working on your own, and you see that your name is in the CEO bucket and the janitor bucket, you're going to start to realize and feel convicted that there are better uses of your time. Because when you are doing something that someone else can do, then you are not able to give your highest contribution to the mission. And let's be honest, you can't fire yourself from all the boxes at once. That's not feasible, right? But if you find yourself in a whole bunch of boxes that don't feel manageable on your chart, then you start to figure out which ones are the cheapest to outsource. Like admin, for example, you could hire an executive assistant or a virtual assistant. Maybe which one's the most expensive to keep, which would be like strategy. And that's probably where, if this is your business, your baby, that's where you need to stay, is in that strategy bucket, not in answering the phones. And there are simple, cheap tools out there that can help you streamline that process. But figuring out what your greatest contribution to the company first is going to be key. So for me, for example, my greatest contribution to the company is visionary and finance. I have got those skills down better than anyone else in the company. And so that is where my contribution lies. All right, step number 3 is going to be the chain of command. And this is where your freedom is going to come in. So I'm going to show you kind of exactly how I took that top down organizational chart and flipped it on its side. And so we use a sideways lateral organizational chart. So we have the shareholders over here, whoever those might be, and then your leadership team, your main leaders. So this could be like a CEO, CFO, COO, or in our businesses, we don't even use those titles. We have like president and vice president and roll from there. And then, for example, like one person may be over like administration, billing, and HR. So any roles that have to do with that report to that person, not back to you, right? And then if somebody, we have in our youth recreation business, like tumble, gymnastics, ninja, I don't see a schedule. I don't touch a schedule. I don't make a schedule. I don't staff anything. That all comes from my husband is in operations. And so he handles all of that and oversees all that. I don't know if a coach is out. I don't know in that business, any of those things. And so it is so important, though, that you have them reporting to someone else first, and you've empowered that person with the autonomy to make decisions, the responsibility of what they're doing, and the authority to carry it through without you needing to micromanage them. They don't need to run everything back by you. If my rule is if somebody's doing it 85% as good as you are, let it roll. And then coaching over time will mold it further and further into how your ideal situation would be, right? And so if the person that's not supposed to be reporting you starts messaging you and asking you something and complaining to you, you have to condition your brain to, I'm sorry, you need to ask your direct supervisor, we call them department leaders. We don't call them managers. We call them department leaders. You need to ask your department leader. You need to ask your department leader. Or if they're asking you for a file over and over, okay, it's on the drive. There's some sort of shared drive, whether you're using OneDrive or you're using Google Drive, it's on the drive. It's on the drive. It's on the drive. And when you keep saying that, they're going to know to go back to the drive. And that takes all those 95 questions off of you. And it takes time, and it's a little uncomfortable at first because you feel like you're just a paid problem solver all day long. And so your anxiety and stress stays up here. And so when you have a minute to breathe, you're like, shouldn't I be doing something? Shouldn't somebody be asking me something? Something's going wrong. No, you are building systems that are leading to freedom. Okay, and then I'm going to give you a bonus one too. This is like a bonus. So we talked about how to set up the organizational structure, but also it's really good to identify any gaps. So once you have your buckets aligned and you are like, okay, these are the buckets I have, you may start to see that you need another role. Like maybe you need a client success manager, or maybe you need somebody that's in hospitality, right? That lets you go ahead and create a hiring roadmap and a plan for hiring that person. Even if you can't do it right now financially, it's a goal to set ahead so that then you're starting to mold the company and the business into what you want it to look like in the future. And, structure, it can feel different at first if you've never had it, but it truly creates safety, and it lets your team know what winning looks like and lets you go back to being the leader, the CEO, the visionary, the person that started this company with like hopes and dreams of making change. And then you all of a sudden got stuck behind a computer screen. There are ways to get out of that. And if you are looking for a business structure and wanting to do that, but you have no idea where to get started, or it feels so overwhelming, click the link in the show notes, and it is a simple free strategy call where I will help get you on the right track. I absolutely love pouring back into other people's business because I've been there as an entrepreneur who started 12 years ago, and it is hard and it is gritty, but you don't have to do it alone, because you can be the architect of your business, or you can be the glue holding it together, but you can't be both. So you can build a structure so that structure can hold you up during all times, prosperous times, uncertain times, and the good times.